Today we're going to be reacting to another Stix video, so make sure to subscribe to my boy as well as check out the original video down in the link in the description below. And we're going to be talking about Kuro Games and how they're basically handling the 30 million downloads for Wuthering Waves, rewards, all that different stuff. And the real thing that piqued my interest on this particular video was the back end of this one, where Stix has found on our Gotcha, you know, our favorite Reddit platform, some different things talking about Genshin and Wuthering Waves. I always kind of like seeing the takes on this one because they seem extreme, and Stix is always a funny dude to do it. So like I said, make sure to follow my boy. And make sure to check out the original video. Help support him. He's an amazing creator.
A little bit of criticism.
So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Because they really did anything wrong, not because anything was happening
with
Wuthering Waves, but more specifically concerning the threshold, the 30 million download threshold that they had crossed, and the rewards that they were going to give players after achieving such a monolithic milestone.
I mean, yeah, it's massive. Stix, what are you watching, bro? What are you doing? The ship is sailing.
This is research. I was just
1.1 leaked.
Looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, Stix, what on earth have you been reading? Why is the male rover there with Jinso? Why is
it's
Jinso
canon,
going,
bro?
Jue certainly didn't prophesize this.
It even has subtitles. It's literally in the game. It's 1.1 leaked. We're gonna get blacklisted. Obviously, it's a joke, by the way. It's not part of the
Wuthering Waves has reached 30 million downloads worldwide.
No, real quick though, before he jumps into it all, that's a massive milestone, right? The fact of the matter is they had 30, I think it was like 33, 34 million pre-registrations. That basically means that they were able to cash in on nearly like 90, like what, 95, 90, I don't know, I'm not a mathematician, but basically like over 90% of those people. Now, of course, it wasn't probably all the people who pre-registered. There's probably some stragglers and stuff like that. But the big thing that a lot of people were saying about the pre-registration is that it was inflated by bots and stuff like that. And this, I mean, I guess they could have technically hired a bunch of bots and stuff like that to jump in and download the game. And we obviously don't have the metrics and the data to tell how long somebody's played, but 30 million downloads is insane because it shows that they were able to not only cash in on the fact that they had a lot of pre-registrations and actually get those people to convert to downloading the game and trying it, but they were able to kind of make something a little bit, you know, fresher and special in terms of a launch. Now, obviously it didn't go the way they wanted to, which was why we had a lot of polygems, but overall, I think this is a huge milestone. But I'll let him talk, and then we'll kind of talk about the rewards, because I think that's the next point he's going to get into.
Just want to take a moment here.
I want to see his take on it,
because this is an incredible achievement.
Yeah, it's huge.
If you recall, people were saying the 34 million pre-registered players, they're all bots. There's no way that they are real human beings.
Yo, Stix and I are always on the same
like 2.5
wavelength.
weeks, 3 weeks. Here we go. We crossed the 30 million downloads.
And that's just massive. So, I mean, you take a look at it, and a lot of games don't even hit like 1 mil, let alone like, I think Arknight's hit like 5 mil. I mean, obviously there's like some different fluctuations because I think even on Google Play, it only gets updated like every like certain amount of mils or something like that. But there's a lot of games that don't hit this kind of number like relatively early on. It takes a very long time for these games to even hit like 1 or 5 mil. It's insane, at least on Google Play. Of course, this says worldwide, so I'm guessing that's across all different clients and stuff like that, not just Google Play. So it's kind of hard to say since they do have a PC client. They have like, you know, different regions and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to say because I've only used like the United States Google Play. But a lot of the games that I see on there that are even popular gotchas hit like 5 mil, and that's pretty insane. Honestly, that's pretty good. So 30 million's wild.
Quite a few of those 34 million were in fact real people. And while I'm sure they're no doubt giving themselves
4 million bots concerned
backpats, I want to instead discuss Wuthering Waves reaches 30 million downloads worldwide and chose to give 10 polls to 10 winners for a collective achievement.
Okay. So that's what I was going to talk about. So basically what they were going to do with this kind of milestone was they're going to pick 10 different people to win 10 polls on the standard banner. So I was a little bit harsh. I'll be 100% honest. I have been super grateful for the fact of the matter that they gave us a lot of apologems and stuff that personally didn't even affect me. I never had any issues with launch, and I ended up getting, you know, all the different rewards that you guys did who had launch issues and stuff like that. And I've always been super grateful. But what I had said on Twitter was basically a retweet of like, hey, you know, if you can kind of give out some different stuff for having a bad launch, and I think it's only fair to give it out to everybody for huge milestones. Now, I think a lot of people took this the wrong way of me kind of bullying them or kind of making them kind of seem like they're not giving enough. But my idea, or at least my thought process was this, is kind of like the balance of it, right? So we want to make sure that we're also celebrating stuff. We're not always just getting stuff for free every time there's an issue or there's a problem, because that just sparks negativity and it just makes people want to kind of keep having problems, so they keep getting stuff. Now, of course, that's probably just going to be the case because Kiro's kind of leaning into being a little bit too generous, honestly, with some of the different issues and bugs and stuff. It's kind of becoming a little bit of a meme, but that's why I think it's important that when we have huge one-time milestones like this, that we're also giving, and I don't think maybe 10 would have been a little too much. Maybe it should have been 5 or maybe some asteroid or something like that. But I feel like whenever you kind of select different people for giveaways on a 10 banner, like for the standard banner, it's kind of like it's a little bit of a slap in face where some of the different people who have been supporting the game and obviously stuck through some of the launch issues. And I feel like just giving it to everybody would have made more sense, because in the grand scheme of things, this is like a marketing thing, right? It does not cost Kiro anything to hand out standard banner pulls, okay? Because it does not inflict into the premium stuff where that's where people are paying, right? People are paying for the premium banner stuff. They're not paying for a 10 pull on the standard banner unless you're really desperate to finish off your beginner stuff, or maybe you want one of the 5-star weapons. But for the most part, this doesn't cost them anything. It's a marketing thing. It's a PR thing to kind of help support the game. And if they're going to treat it that way, then they should just give it out. Now, like I said, 10 may be a little bit too much. Maybe they did some asteroid or some 5 for, like, the standard banner pull or something like that would have been a little bit better. But obviously, I'm not trying to say that they didn't give us enough. I've been super happy with the fact of the matter that they've been so generous on some of the launch issues, especially if it didn't affect everybody. But if they're going to kind of go down that route, they also want to make sure that they're giving a balance of, rewarding players for sticking around and hitting these milestones so we can feel connected and be positive about something and get some different rewards for being positive. I think it's just one of those things that I just kind of want to hear what Stix says, because like I said, I was a little harsh on it. I could have reworded it a little bit better in the tweet. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not, grateful and happy with what Kiro's doing. I just want to find a nice balance so we can kind of have, positive outshine the negative sometimes in some of the different, milestones.
They've given dozens.
But I'm curious what Stix has to say.
Of free 10 pulls, thousands of premium currency. They've given us
5-star selector, all kinds of different stuff.
Selectors. They've done every single thing that is within their ability to constantly appease players. They've given us repeated compensation for the blunders that they've encountered. And while I look at this and I'm like, you know what, they don't need to give us anything because they've given us so much already. I do understand that,
and I see that point too.
Want free pulls. I understand that it's difficult to obtain enough currency to continue to actually pull for characters in game. I think that's something they definitely need to touch on, and they definitely need to improve, because
yeah, I think we're getting to a point where some of the freebies and the milestones and the asteroid is definitely slowing down if you are free to play. Now, I kind of broke that curse because I bought the monthly, but I'm relatively low spending. But yeah, so a lot of people are going to start hitting this wall with asteroid as we get into 1.1, where we'll get a nice little boost. And I think a lot of people who are routine to this, like they understand how these games work, probably did save a large amount of currency and still stick to a large amount of currency as free to play, because they know that we go through having these kind of, especially at launch, you get so many different rewards and all the different asteroid. So you want to hold on to that as long as you can as a free to play, because you never know what's going to happen, especially with the game that came out simultaneously. So you don't really have, foresight except for the leaks. If you indulge in those, of course, whatever. But most of the time you won't have it in like kind of the foresight that you would have from a game that's stagger launched from CN or like, global and stuff like that. So you can kind of get a nice 6-month period to see what's going on. So yeah, a lot of people are getting to a point where they're starting to get a little bit on the back end of slowing down for the asteroid. So a lot of people are probably holding on to free to play. And, obviously, like Stix is saying, they have to kind of have some sort of adjustment. But I think this is kind of a natural state of these typical kind of games when it comes to like kind of the back end of an event or kind of the back end of a version, right? As we go into 1.1, we'll obviously have a nice little boost of asteroid for a little bit. We'll kind of have to see what they do and how their kind of income is for events and kind of justify where that's going on for free to play. So I think it's a little early to say exactly what the currency is going to be for free to play as we go into the next couple of events. I know Genshin's kind of slow, it kind of just depends how we go for that. But yeah, so obviously we're going to be talking about some different things. So a lot of people are going to want to have free pulls as much as they can, because obviously it just helps you and you just be able to save it and kind of go forward. So I kind of understand what Stix is saying here.
We're going to reach a point where there's just no real way for us to obtain pulls as a free to play player, or at least enough pulls to actually obtain the limited characters when they release.
Yeah, especially on the new kind of like 50-50 thing, because like in PGR, if you play PGR, you are pretty much guaranteed every character as long as you do your dailies and you do your like Warzone and your paying cage. You can get all your BCs and you can pretty much get every character every patch. But unfortunately, Wuthering Waves doesn't have that kind of luxury, so you are going to be having to kind of pick and choose who you get. And we're just kind of in a point where I think that's going to be kind of normal for a lot of the gacha games going forward.
Prided themselves on how free-to-play friendly they are, on how much they reward players for actually playing their game. So this right here is an interesting way of actually giving back to players. They decided they were going to give 10 polls to just 10 winners only. This sparked an outrage.
Yeah, CN was not
social
happy.
Media, specifically China.
Yeah, they were
China's
not happy.
reactions towards Wuthering Waves 30 million download, 10 lustrous tide giveaway, and subsequent correction. The overwhelming majority of players were very critical of this, saying that it wasn't nearly enough, saying that even Genshin gave 10 polls for their 10 million download achievement, if I recall. Shortly after seeing this, and when I say shortly, I mean very shortly after seeing the reception from players, it seems as
Before
though...
it says, funny enough, whenever I made my retweet, it was just in time where Kiro had walked it back and made it for everybody. So it's almost like I had a couple of comments on my Twitter thing, basically like, "What'd you do, bro?" Like they just walked it back. I was like, I had to give him a call. No, but yeah, CN, I mean, CN's kind of pretty harsh. I would be honest, like CN's pretty harsh on this different stuff. I don't understand like too much of the comparison to Genshin because I wasn't really there for it. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what they were giving for compensation. But I do know recently Genshin has not been giving the right compensation for a lot of the different rewards and a lot of the different anniversaries and stuff like that. And they've been kind of bashed for it, which is why I was kind of talking about finding a nice balance of giving stuff for Apollo gems, but also giving a nice amount of balance for stuff for rewards and going into like, you know, different milestones and stuff like that. Cause you don't want it to be like a meme where it's like, you know, you get 3 polls for an anniversary. They also don't want it to be a meme where it's like, you know, everybody can just complain about one little text feature and all of a sudden you get 20 premium currencies and stuff like that for like your premium polls. And, you know, so you basically have to find a balance of who you're catering to and kind of who you're like, okay, bro, like, you know, is the text kind of mixed up, you know, that worth, you know, that many polls. So I think they're going to have to find a good way and balance of kind of, you know, deciding what's worth spending the currencies and stuff, because if they set a precedent where they basically can get bullied into doing different things, then I do feel like it could be kind of an issue for Kiro. And I do kind of see this a little bit from the CN side to be a little bit bully-ish on the fact of the matter, saying it's not enough. I don't know why 10 wouldn't be enough. Now, if they gave it to everybody at like even 5 or a couple Astrite or something like that, I would definitely see that as enough because it's free, right? It's just free. So I don't know if they would have sparked kind of controversy on that part if they would have came out and said like, hey, here's 5 standard banner polls for everybody. If CN would have been like, well, what the hell? I wasn't a 10. Like, I don't know how it would have reacted for CN, but they seem very critical and stuff, which is just kind of unfortunate because I feel like Kiro's trying to walk a fine balance of trying to give people, you know, kind of what they want, but you also don't want to make people never spend again. But like I said, the fact of the matter is it is like standard banner poll stuff. So it doesn't really cost Kiro anything to give that out in terms of like, you know, the premium banner stuff that they were doing, or like the 5-star selector.
Kudo
that cost them
made
money.
Correction here and decided, in their words, "We sincerely apologize for the poor experience brought to everyone by the inconsiderate social media activities. The project team decided to send 10 polls along with 10 crystal solvents to all rovers in the server through in-game email today. I received this. I'm sure you've received this if you haven't received this, and I strongly urge you to go ahead, log into the game now, and get your 10 poll.
Yeah, we've already got it. It takes about like 5 minutes to pop up in your mailbox.
Or
at least it did for me.
Wuthering Waves. Now, see, I think this is great. I think it's good that they listen to the feedback. They are always listening to the feedback. But at the same time, and this is where things get a little bit tricky, a thread was opened over
okay, so this is the Genshin
Gacha
thing.
Gaming subreddit. And I know, our
Bro's
Gacha
name's
Gaming
Fable
doom
Rat.
posting negatively about Wuthering Waves. Whoa, what
I mean, first off, I don't know if I can take anybody serious if their name's Fabled Rat, bro.
shocking revelation. That's the first time we've heard of that. The thread was actually removed. But I actually saw this thread earlier when I was taking the biggest shit of my life. I opened up my Reddit app and this thread right here appeared. Kudo Games bad. Wuthering Waves bad. Genshin could never. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to show the content of this Reddit thread, but they used a Genshin image, and then they had this enormous paragraph.
Oh, God.
This tinfoil hat conspiracy theory about how Kudo actually had this entire thing, the entire event.
Oh, I've heard this.
Everything
Okay,
that
this is what this is
transpired
about.
Was premeditated.
Yeah. So people are claiming that Kiro's riding the meme of the Genshin can never thing. So they're purposely trying to make it to where they spark controversy basically on these rewards. And then they're turning around and like being the good guy. So a lot of people are thinking that Kiro is like playing on this meme or playing on this kind of like riding the hype, the trend basically, to continuously kind of seem better than Genshin by doing this on purpose, which was wild, bro. I mean, if they are doing it, bro, I don't know. Kiro might be might be like 200 plus IQ if they're actually doing this to ride trends and stuff like that to make it. But I don't think they are. I really do think that they're just taking the feedback based on stuff, and they really want to make sure to get it right because they are in such an odd place and such a stressful place, right? You are going to be one of the first competitors to Genshin that has came out in years. You know what I mean? So obviously you're going to want to sit in a spot where you can make players happy and kind of give them things that a lot of people have been having issues with Genshin to kind of take up a little bit of the market space. So they're trying to play market share and they're trying to be a little bit over gracious and over, generous in the fact of the matter, giving rewards just to kind of take a little bit of that market share one bit of a time for Genshin. I don't think they're trying to like completely hijack a trend just to take that way. But, like I said, 200 IQ, bro, if they are, I guess.
Had planned to, for whatever reason, announce this 10-person giveaway. And they already had the rewards planned to give to everyone.
It was pretty quick, though. It was a pretty quick flip around.
Before they did this, to garner additional goodwill within the community, they decided, you know what? Let's roll out a subpar reward, and then when enough people complain, we will give them the real rewards that we were going to give them anyway. And then
200 IQ,
players
bro,
will think to themselves, oh my god, wow, they really do listen. Every time we have any kind of constructive criticism or feedback for their game, they take it under advisement and then they remedy the situation. They give us free 10 pulls. They give us free premium currency, free crystal solvents. They give us guaranteed 5-star characters.
The crystal solvents are underlooked, bro. Underrated.
Before anyone takes this out of context, this is what the content of the Reddit thread was saying. And I was reading this and I'm like, holy fuck, these people have literally single-digit IQs.
Yeah, they've lost it, bro.
Thinking, what Kudo want to do is actually have more negative press for their game. Yeah, sure, they're giving us compensatory 10 pulls, but at the same time, at the expense of what? At the expense of having whoever is in charge of their social media look like fucking idiots.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, though. The balance of stuff is like, if they continue to kind of do stuff just for bad stuff, then it eventually becomes like kind of this negative where they can get bullied into situations like this. Now, I do agree with Stix where it's just like, they're not trying to do this on purpose because it's just going to make them look bad and have negative press. And at this point, like, we're trying to, like, at least I would hope that they're trying to cultivate a more positive kind of community going forward, just because they had a lot of kind of negative press. And some of it was kind of their own fault, like with self-inflicted wounds on launch and stuff like that. But I do think there were some issues where people are just being a little bit too apprehensive and a little bit too criticized to kind of like, push Wuthering Waves and Kiro to kind of push them to do stuff. I feel like it's just a little, too much.
I understand that they thought they were doing something cool. They really did. And
I thought they had it.
Kudos for trying to do something like that. I appreciate that they decided to give the 10 pulls to everyone anyway, along with the addition of 5 crystal solvent, because that means, we can farm more
wave
Echo
plates,
XP items,
more Echo, Echo
I
stuff.
personally do not believe that this was premeditated. I do not believe that they sat there and thought to themselves and then decided to go ahead with potentially doing additional damage to the reputation.
Well, and that's the other thing is like, even if they were going to do it as like kind of a premeditated thing, it was a very like catch-22. It could have very easily blew back and it could have very easily just made it way worse for them if they were actually doing this and trying to do some like 200 IQ like chess play. It just how it happens that I feel like it kind of worked out. So even though it wasn't intentional by them, at least I don't think so. If it were to be intentional, it could have definitely went the other way as well. So I don't feel like they were gonna risk it,
but also the game, because this could have gone over much worse.
Yeah, 100%.
Chinese players were upset with it. They immediately remedied the situation. Now everyone's happy.
Yay!
Listened.
Everybody's happy.
But it could have gone over so much worse. So are they willing to potentially win some goodwill within the community at the expense of tarnishing more of their reputation? I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea. I think whatever this guy is smoking, he needs to throw out because it's making him fucking stupid. Now, I appreciate that they removed the Reddit thread. This is actually removed within
Gotcha
3
Gaming,
minutes,
the Reddit.
which is very impressive. But the things that some of these haters, these blatant idiots, think up, the narrative that they create in their heads to justify their unadulterated hatred for this game, it baffles me. I don't understand where all of this negativity comes from. Nothing bad can come from Wuthering Waves doing good. It just means that Genshin will have to do better if it wants to remain on top. It means future open world anime gacha games are gonna have to do better.
Well, and that's one of the other points that's very interesting to take is like Wuthering Waves and Kiro are starting a precedent on what games could be. Now, they took some things with Genshin that some people aren't happy, like 50/50s and some of the higher pities. You know, some of the different things that kind of come with the territory, unfortunately, running kind of some of these bigger games. But they can change the way that they were kind of giving things for milestones and giving rewards for like events and different things. They can change that culture because Genshin has started to ship kind of like the idea that we should just be giving kind of the most minimum amount of stuff we can ever give a player, like 2 or 3 pulls, just to keep them engaged long enough to get them to spend more. And Kiro's showing that people don't have to do that to spend. You can still give them premium currencies and still give them a shit ton. They made so much money in like 8 days, and they had a ton of different launch issues with a ton of different premium currencies and a 5-star selector, and they still ended up making like almost 25K across CN and globals. And I can only imagine what they're going to make for Yinlin. Now, of course, like I said, they're not going to have the kind of buff, or at least the players aren't going to have like the buff for the premium currency. So of course they're going to probably spend a little bit more. But yeah, they're going to make a decent amount of money on Yinlin. I would be so happy, and I'm going to report whenever this actually comes out for Yinlin on the revenue, which should be into July. Obviously, we'll get that report for June. So I'm so super interested to see, because like you can find a nice balance of making a shit ton of money while also rewarding players for playing the game. Like there doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think that's kind of what Stix is saying, is like they can kind of start a precedent on how to kind of make these games better, forcing Genshin and other open world games that are going to be coming out, like Azir Premilia or something like that, to kind of force these devs to make a good understanding that we can't just kind of keep doing what Genshin's doing in terms of being with our community and rewarding our players that way. We have to be a little bit better than that to kind of get the edge up and kind of go forward. I think is kind of cultivate a more positive community.
Not only the generosity that Kudo have continued to exhibit, but also the quality of the game that they have pushed out. Now, I appreciate the compensation we got. I didn't even know this was even a thing until later in the day. And I really have absolutely no issue with it. At the end of the day, they're going to push out whatever events they want to. I'm going to enjoy whatever rewards I can. I never feel entitled to free pulls. I just enjoy everything I can about the games that I'm playing. But that's me. Now, if none of this is of any interest to you, absolutely no problem. I got you covered with 2 different dedicated videos on screen right now that might be more up your alley.
Yo, Stix, where's your shout out to your Patreons, bro? No, but yeah, like he said, there's a lot of cool points that, you know, basically a lot of people are in this weird state of mind in gacha gaming and in gaming as a whole. Honestly, a lot of people are very obsessed with games that they like hate. You know, hate is such a strong word, but I feel like these people are just like spending so much time kind of following a game that they claim that they have no interest in, and they make, you know, Reddit's got its whole like own beast. So it's kind of hard to say what's going on with Reddit, but the fact is, like, a lot of people are so like bent on hating Wuthering Waves because they feel like they spent a lot of money on Genshin, and if Wuthering Waves comes in here and kind of makes them feel like they have wasted money in some way or some kind of form, that it makes them feel bad for having to waste money, basically. So they don't want to be able to do that, and they want to be able to kind of just, I don't know, play the game, bro. Like, just play your game, play Wuthering Waves, play both. Shit, I don't know. Most of the people don't care if you play all 3 of them. I have all kinds of people in the community that play Honkai Star Rail, play Genshin, they play Honkai Impact 3rd, they plan on playing Zenless Zone Zero, they love Wuthering Waves, they play PGR. Like, people, like the mass majority of people who are gacha lovers just play all the games and enjoy stuff. So it's kind of unfortunate when you have like the kind of vocal minority that just are so damn loud and so damn ignorant and just have such low IQs on stuff like this. So yeah, super cool video by Stix. Again, make sure to sub to him. Check out the original video. Both of those will be the link in the description. I just kind of wanted to add my 2 cents on